I'd like to call the meeting of the North Highlands Recreation Park District in session. Approval of the minutes. Do we have any changes to the May 15th minutes?
Changes? None.
Okay, make a
No
motion.
motion. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 3 ayes, no noes, 2 absent. Chairperson report, he's absent and I don't have anything. Comments from board members. Does anyone have any comments? That's not on the agenda. Okay. Okay, reports from standing committees. Budget and finance is on the agenda later. Administrator's report. Gary, you have anything you'd like to add?
Yeah, I'd like to talk a little bit about the cow recycling grant status. Do you remember years back when they used to call some of the rides at Disneyland was it the e-ticket?
The e-ticket, right. Yes, I still call them that.
And this has been an e-ticket ride for the last few weeks here. At our last meeting, the board asked the staff to follow up with an appeal, which was granted us from Cal Recycle for the audit, and to also make sure that we got our Assembly Member Cooley and Senator Nielsen involved in the process. We talked about whether to appeal it, do the appeal ourselves in-house, or spend a little bit of money and have our attorney do it. We opted to have our attorney do it. We figured since it's our last appeal, we might as well give it our best shot possible. Quite frankly, I think they wrote an outstanding appeal. They put all together all the past paperwork and reference material in chronological order and attacked every one of the issues that was raised in the audit, plus the ones they did not raise or they chose to ignore that benefited them. I thought it was an outstanding letter written by the attorney. So we forwarded that, got it in time to Cal Recycle. We also, like I said, we CC'd our senator and assembly members. Within 10 minutes after contacting Senator Nielsen's office, we heard from them. They have been very, very involved from that point going forward. They sent the letter out a couple of days ago. And actually, the senator, I was told by his chief of staff, personally called the chief auditor and spoke with her and went through some of the key things as to what concerned him most. And then this is relayed back to us. And also, we got a follow-up phone call from one of the staff members from the Cal Recycle, who also pretty much repeated the same thing. They said they had some internal problems. It's the first audit they have done in more years they can remember for a grant like this, and seemed to be kind of backpedaling. And the senator said he was going to follow up next week. He expected some answers and wanted them to respond to the challenges. And basically they said that they were going to back off for now until they could figure this thing out. We just want it done right. And for something we've said from day one is, just tell us, explain to us what it is that's not meeting your requirements. Just don't tell us it didn't meet your requirements. You have to explain to us what that means. So that's up to this point. And then earlier today, Scott received a phone call from Assembly Member Cooley's office. We were kind of surprised. We had not heard from them the whole time, and apparently they had been receiving the information when we had been providing them. But they are now involved and appear to be writing a letter as well. So we hopefully, as soon as we find out, we won't wait until next meeting. We'll let the board know what the outcome is. But we've certainly utilized our last appeal. We think we did it the right way. We've got our lawmakers involved in the process, and we're hoping for a positive outcome. If not, at least tell us what it is that you haven't been telling us. And so that's kind of the status on the Cal Recycle grant, and maybe we'll hear something soon.
Cool.
Wow. Good job. 5 minutes. Within minutes, huh?
Literally, I think I told Scott, 10 to 11 minutes after I emailed it, I had the phone call. So, and I have to admit, Senator Nielsen's office has been very involved in making sure they're following up and made the phone call. I mean, I heard within 10 minutes after they talked to the Cal Recycle chief auditor that they had contacted us, explained to us exactly what was said and what the issue was. In fact, I guess it riled up Senator Nielsen so much that he was asking how far a walk was it from where he was in some committee meeting, how far a walk was it from his office to her office. He wanted to go there and only found out she wasn't in the office at the time. So that's good. I mean, I like to hear that, whether it's true or not, you know, it makes for a good story. So hopefully that he feels that strongly, because we certainly need him to help get some answers to all of these audit questions for this grant. Scott, do you have anything you wanted to add to that?
No, covered it.
Again, it doesn't mean we're going to have a positive outcome, but I don't think we could have done much more than we've done.
Great work.
Scott, is there anything you'd like to add to your report?
For the maintenance report, no.
Okay. And Mark?
But we'll go over the water use on the agenda though?
Yes. For me, I would actually like to add, there's one thing that occurred before I actually turned in the report. Last week, we lost one of our volunteer coaches. He lost his battle with cancer. He had volunteer coached for us since I had been since I started for about 5 years. This year he took it off. His kids were still actively involved in the program, and he was still participating in practices and helping out. He was a really good man. His name was James Little. He's a great leader in the community, so I just wanted to acknowledge him. And it's a great loss for the area.
And I saw it posted on Facebook.
Yeah, he's a very recognizable man within our youth basketball program. So.
Madam Chair, if I can make a motion that we can adjourn in his honor, is that maybe appropriate?
No.
Second.
All right. Gary, you got anything? All right. Correspondence, we don't have any. Do we have any comments and reports from citizens and organizations present? No? Okay, we have no unfinished business. And under new business, item number 8, the 15-16 water use recommendation. Staff, do you have anything you'd like to expand on and report regarding the water use recommendation that was in our packet?
Do you want me to take that?
Yes.
In a small way, it's kind of similar to what we're going through at Cal Recycle, in that we seem to get new information, if not on a daily basis, at least on a weekly basis. But in the last month, we've been part of 2 separate meetings involving water providers and park and rec districts and school districts in the area, trying to address and stay on top of the mandates that are coming from the State Water Resources Control Board down through the individual water providers in our area. Our primary water provider is Sac Suburban. We also have 2 parks that are fed by water from California American Water. As I pointed out in my report, the initial reduction that Sac Suburban was mandated was 36%. We're using a period from June of 13 through February of 14 as kind of the benchmark comparison timeframe. So we're heading into that timeframe right now. Now, last summer, in anticipation of these types of cutbacks, Larry made some decisions that right now are looking very, very smart, in that we turned off the splash pad at Freedom Park, and we cut back on irrigation as early as last August. And I think in my report you can see, just with those voluntary reductions before any mandates were in place, we were able to cut water use by almost 28%. Now, since that 36% number was handed down by the state, just recently Sac Suburban had their mandate cut to 32%. Steps we've taken already this year, We are watering significantly less than we have in years past. We're down to 2 days a week for 20 minutes maximum per station. You've seen the parks, you've seen the common area out front. It's not looking great, but it's not dead yet. Also, as I pointed out in my report at the last meeting I attended about 3 weeks ago, the conservation manager from Sac Suburban was in attendance, and at that time made a verbal announcement that they would soon be implementing a no watering on ornamental turf. Now, when asked what an ornamental turf is, he basically said anything that's not sports field related. Now, we have sports complex within the district, obviously. K Park, Brock Park, those are both ball field complexes. Dennis Fogg is dealing with the same restrictions over at the softball complex. Since that announcement was made, we haven't gotten any written guidelines on how to implement that particular cutback. So since then, we have been adhering to the 2 days per week. But since then, another update just recently, as a matter of fact, in the last couple days, Sac Suburban, their conservation manager, is working on a plan that he has submitted to the general manager that would allow park and rec districts and school districts to continue watering all facilities within a water budget that they will be determining. I think given the fact that we've made significant cutbacks already, I think the 36% was going to be completely doable for June through next February. 32% certainly even more attainable. And when they come back with a plan to hopefully allow some watering on ornamental turf, we are primarily interested in keeping Freedom Park as non-brown as we can keep it. Obviously, with the amount of traffic we get there, it's an important source of revenue in terms of rentals and things like that. So we're anticipating, we're looking very much forward to his plan, and if it gets approved by the general manager over at Sac Suburban as to what that watering plan would be. I feel like right now we've done a very good job of cutting back, and we should be able to fit within whatever watering budget they come up with. So where we stand right now, we have made the cutbacks I talked about in my report. If a variance is required for some reason, the plan that the conservation manager submitted is not approved. If a variance is required for specific parts, we will be submitting a request for a variance for Freedom Park. We'll continue to water the 2 ball field complexes as deep into June as we can. We'll get through the local baseball season for the kids that are playing on those fields, and then we'll look to scale those back as well, pretty much eliminate irrigation if we have to. The 2 school facilities that we share, or we manage in cooperation with Twin Rivers, will continue to be watered until they decide they have to turn the water off. They control the spigot on those fields, but we are watering those fields 2 days a week as well. If we're pressed and the mandate is no ornamental turf being watered, we're prepared to shut off the water at all of our parks, including the district office complex and other ornamental areas. And then one thing that came up at the first meeting I attended to about a month and a half ago, there was a lot of discussion about trees and keeping trees irrigated. At this last meeting 3 weeks ago, that was not as much of a topic. And the feeling is, obviously, trees provide shade. They contribute to keeping as much turf as we can, non-brown as we can. So we'll be following up on what we can do to keep the trees in our parks as irrigated as possible to keep them alive. We need that shade. Trees can become a safety hazard if they die and have to be taken out or they fall over. So
they're expensive to replace.
Very expensive to replace, and so that's the approach we're taking right now. So apologize if I was repetitive from the written report, but that's kind of where we are right now with any of the updates that have come through since this report was filed last week.